So today we're talking video, more specifically wireless microphones. I'm gonna cover some tips and tricks to get the best out of your Wireless Go or Wireless Go 2. The tips fits both of them, and how to avoid the most common mistakes, and I think I made them all. E aí, I'm Henry, a Brazilian photographer living in Italy, and in this channel we talk about photo, video and tech. So some weeks ago I recorded a video comparing the Wireless Go and Wireless Go 2. It's a video that you can see clicking in the card above here. And I received many comments and many questions about them, so I decided to do this video to try to help you out. If you're interested in any tip in specific, just check in the description or scroll through the timeline. Everything is divided into sections. So tip number one is positioning. Having the microphone in the right place is crucial to have a clean audio. We're in a place around here, you're gonna see some images that is full of people, but having the microphone really close to the mouth totally enhances my voice and cleans out all the noise in the background. Let's make some tests, having the microphone in different places, and you're gonna be hearing the difference between all these positions. Okay, so right now you're listening to the microphone in the closest position possible to my mouth, and it should be as clear as possible. Okay, now you're listening to the microphone at mid-height, more or less, and this is how the microphone sounds in the unlikely case in which there's nowhere to put it on the body of the person. Instead, we're putting it on the waistline. Tip number 2 on using the Wireless Go is also to pay attention exactly where you position it, because sometimes if it's a really lightweight shirt like I'm wearing right now, it might bend over. Let's try it together. So here's how it sounds when it's a bit blocked like this. One thing you can do to avoid this is putting it a little bit upper, not on the middle here, but a little bit on the side, so that it's a little bit more unlikely that it will bend over. And one other thing that you have to pay attention to is for rubbing against the shirt or your body or something like that. If you just have it in a way that it might do like this, you're gonna have noise that comes from so close to the microphone that it's gonna be impossible to cancel it after in post-production. So pay a lot of attention to that. Okay, now for this tip, let's talk levels. And usually the recommendation is to have the gain on the microphone as high as possible and the gain on the camera as low as possible. But on the Wireless Go, I noticed that when the gain is on the maximum, it generates a little bit of noise, picks up a little bit too much of the noise around us. So I usually put it either on medium or on low. Right now you're listening to the Wireless Go on the minimum and the A7 III on 12. And now you're listening to it in the medium gain on the microphone and only 4 on the A7 III. And just one extra quick tip, always use the fur when you're outside, either for the wind around you, but even only for the air that comes out of your own mouth. It just sounds so much better. I'm gonna take it off. And this is how it sounds without it. Now this trick is that you can actually connect another microphone to the Wireless Go, like this for example. Okay, so usually you would do something a little bit more professional than this, that's what I recommend you. But if you just want to improvise a little bit and have a boom pole like I did here, you can have a part of a light stand. On top of it, I put a Joby ball head, just because the connection of the Rode VideoMic Pro is different from the boom light stand. So I had to use this to adapt it. And the Rode is here connected to the other microphone. So this allows you to have a shotgun mic, even really far away from the camera without having cables lying around, which makes everything much easier. Just to give a little bit more context, this technique is really useful if you have more than 1 or 2 people talking at the same time, a dialogue between all of these, and then you can use one shotgun mic, just pointing really as close as possible to the subjects without entering the frame properly, and using the Wireless Go just to prevent any cables on the set. So it makes everything much tidier, much more organized, and much less risky also. One other advantage of this technique is that the pattern from this kind of shotgun mics and the Wireless Go are completely different. And there are scenarios in which you want one and scenarios in which the other is better. The Wireless Go is omnidirectional, meaning that it grabs audio from everywhere around it, and it has to be like that. Otherwise, the position you put it on a person would influence also the quality of the audio. Instead, this kind of shotgun mics, they grab audio mainly in front of them and a little bit behind them. So if you can manage to isolate what's making noise to the sides or put it away from what's in front of the microphone itself, you can have a very clean audio if the source is really close to the microphone. In the other video, I tested the same thing, but the microphone was on top of the camera, and then the Wireless Go is absolutely much better isolating what's around you. Okay, so now this is a test to see how the wireless mic sounds in a very busy environment, and this is how the Rode VideoMic Pro sounds in a very busy environment. And by the way, I decided to use this technique also here in the studio, as you can see right now, with the Rode VideoMic Pro connected to the wireless Go and here to the camera. Another great resource of this microphone is the capability of recording directly into a smartphone. And this is very useful if you want to have a backup audio, for example. You could have, for example, a shotgun mic connected to your main camera and have the Rode Wireless Go, the transmitter, on the person that is talking, and a phone connected to the receiver anywhere in the room. Now, one thing to consider is how the Rode Wireless Go connects to the phone itself. If you're using the second version, the Rode 2, then you have already the adapters for USB-C or for iPhone. In case you have the first version, you're gonna have to buy these cables, or you're gonna have to buy an adapter, because the cable that comes with it is a TRS cable. But to connect it to the smartphone inside the 3.5mm jack, you're gonna have to use an adapter from TRS to TRRS. I'm gonna leave in the description the link to get exactly this cable that is from Rode itself. Alright, let me take this away. This next tip is that you can use the Rode Wireless Go as a voiceover microphone. So if you just want to show some images on the screen and you want to narrate something over it, you can perfectly well record this voice using it. But you have to pay attention to some things. If you're recording it in a room that there is a lot of reverb, then you're gonna be better off if you use some techniques to avoid it. So first of all, I'm gonna show you how it sounds just without anything, how it sounds then with this, with the fur on top, and using a special technique. So I'm just gonna read some sentences that I found here that are usually good for testing microphones. So, oak is strong and also gives shade. Cats and dogs each hate the other. The pipe began to rust while new. Oak is strong and also gives shade. Cats and dogs each hate the other. The pipe began to rust while new. Oak is strong and also gives shade. Cats and dogs each hate the other. The pipe began to rust while new. So the trick is really to cover yourself with a blanket, or you can find also a closet and get inside of that, or you can find the room in your house that has more couches or carpet or things like that can help diffuse a little bit the reverb. Now for this part, we're going to be in post-production already. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks inside Premiere that you can do to really clean your audio. So if I just talk now, we're going to be hearing my voice over this, and you're going to see how the filters inside Premiere can filter this kind of noise out, especially if I leave it for a while without talking. And then later it's gonna begin to understand what was my voice and what was the sound from that. So if I just talk now, we're gonna be hearing my voice over this, and you're gonna see how the filters inside Premiere can filter this kind of noise out, especially if I leave it for a while without talking. This tip is to help you prevent the audio from clipping, meaning that it went way too loud and then now it was just cut because it was just too much for the receiver, or to solve it. If you're now in post-production and you notice that this happened and now you need to save it somehow. Now with the Rode Wireless Go 1, you really have to pay attention to the levels and ask for the person who's gonna talk to just talk normally like they would during the interview. You can make some questions related to what they're gonna talk about and just let them for a little while so that you know what's gonna be the maximum limit that you have to adjust to. If you have the Rode Wireless Go 2, you're gonna have the option to record internally a -20 dB version of the same audio, so you can be safe using this feature, so do enable it. And if you're in post-production already and you're desperate about it, know that Premiere has a connection with Adobe Audition, so you can right-click the audio and you can go to Audition and you can use a feature that is exactly to save clipped audio. Okay, so this is another test just to see what happens if the microphone ends up being too close to the mouth and then back to normal position. Okay, so this is another test just to see what happens if the microphone ends up being too close to the mouth and then back to normal position. It's not perfect and it's not gonna work every single time, but it does save some audios that seem impossible to recover, so do give it a try. And the last trick is that you can actually use this to be your microphone on your computer or your notebook, for example. So you can just attach it to the microphone port, and then you can say that it's the external microphone properly, and your audio is going to be so much better, either for Zoom calls or even for recording, even voiceovers if you want. Or inside Premiere, for example, you have the option to doing the voiceovers directly into the timeline, so you can use for that also. One way that I use this trick every single time here on these videos on YouTube is when I'm recording the screen to show something to you guys, and then I use one microphone on the camera, and I use the Rode connected to the computer. Since it's a desktop, it doesn't have a microphone built in. And then when I'm in post-production, I'm editing the video, I can have a backup audio. I have the audio from the camera and from the Rode, and I can synchronize the image from there and from the camera so easily using a feature inside Premiere that is properly for synchronizing audio. If I didn't have this, I would have to try to pinpoint exactly what was the moment that I started talking about something and then push and pull on the timeline the screen recording to match. So like this, it's so much easier to do everything and much faster. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. I really hope these tips helped you learn something that you can apply right now using your Rode Wireless Go microphones, and that they also prevent you from making some mistakes like I did in the past and I'm not proud of. So if you know something different, if you know any other technique, please write it in the comment section below so that we can share with everybody watching this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao!